80% of the global population has not engaged with AI
At all.
Our brains as surgeons are dialed into finding problems to solutions. The thing is, we don't know how to do it.
There's pretty solid data to show that we're stupider than we've ever been.
One of the biggest obstacles to experimenting right now is how do I justify spending 10 hours just playing when I've got all the other things that I have to juggle?
How important are that people do well in their MCATs when your Ray-Ban glasses will know a bajillion times more than you will ever do?
You don't operate talking, you operate doing. It's not like I'm like, and now I'm putting a stent in the artery from here to here. That would be the most
some of us
insane.
do that. You just called
So
me insane.
Priya watch herself.
Two vascular surgeons walk into a bar and come out with a podcast. We are talking everything vascular and not. Welcome to the Life of Flow podcast.
Hello, everyone. Today we have an episode with Andrew Sponsler. Andrew is
And me.
a good
I'm
friend.
back.
And Miguel's
I'm back.
I didn't fire Miguel.
I'm back, people. Y'all thought that Lucas hated me. The reality is he does, but I'm back.
And Andrew is basically my AI guru, and he does AI consulting for small to mid-sized businesses and helps them automate their processes. And today we just talked about how Miguel loves AI.
I really do, though. Why are you saying it that way? You're making it sound like I'm not. I'm very enthusiastic. This is going to be very fun.
All right, vamos. Welcome to another episode of the Life of Flow podcast. And I am super excited for this. We have my good friend, the minister of the Temple of Claude himself.
Recently ordained.
Recently ordained, actually. Andrew Sponsler. And Miguel, Andrew and I met
I'm
last
doing
year.
lobster clapping. Did you see me?
Oh, the lobster clap.
clapping.
Yeah.
for
That's we got to make that into the signal.
Exactly. So Andrew and I met randomly through Courtney, actually, and then we instantly became friends. And then I convinced him to move to Austin.
No way.
I did, and he moved to Austin. Yeah.
This is the story.
He
This
was
is the
living
story.
in He was living in what? Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And tell them where we met too. I mean, we didn't meet it.
We met.
Just like,
we met in Costa Rica,
Costa
Oh, no
Rica.
way.
your home country. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
My mother's.
because we
This is when you guys went to
yeah,
Santa
in,
Teresa.
Santa Teresa, exacto. So
Mm, what a
Andrew
beautiful
came in,
place.
yeah, and
Miguel, eres
then
de Costa Rica.
Yo soy tico, sí.
También.
Sí, yo soy tico.
Ah, eres un
I
tico.
grew up in Costa
También
Rica.
es, mi madre es una tica.
Oh, no way. I bet you 80% chances her name is Maria.
Sharon.
Ah,
Super white.
Sharon.
it would be, yeah. Sharon.
Sharon.
Charon,
Called
yeah.
Charon.
But
So
we met in Costa Rica.
That's awesome.
we met in Costa Rica, and then he came visit Austin a couple times. I inducted him into my other cult, and then I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
I'm sorry, which of all the other cults that you're part of?
I have
is-
many. Don't worry about it.
Got it. Okay. Let's just
Lives a colorful life.
let's just sprinkle
live a
over this
colorful
one.
life.
Okay. On to the next one. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So then I'm like, because when in Costa Rica, we were talking, and I'm like, what are you doing in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, with the Amish? And he was like, oh, I want to move to London. So we talked about that, but then I just said, bro, you just get to move to Austin. So he's in Austin, and then he is my agentic guru,
Mm.
the minister of the Temple of Claude.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about all things agents and all the kind of fun, interesting things that are going on. And I think that this could have significant impact in independent practice.
Will have.
I mean, it will have, and it's just fun to know people that are at the forefront of it. So yeah, that's Andrew.
Well, welcome, enlightened one. And I would say that we probably may have a percentage of people that know what agentic AI is, and I'm sure there's a few that probably never have ever heard this. So how about we set the stage of what it is that you guys are looking into, what part specifically of AI that's this huge thing, that's created some coalition and I guess intellectual appetite between you both.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, first of all, I want to say thank you both for having me on. This is so fun chatting with you. Lucas and I obviously know each other, have or known each other for a little while now, and Miguel, we've interacted through this group chat that we keep referencing, but I want to explain. This culty thing that we talk about is a group chat of founders who are all experimenting with AI and OpenClaw and agentic AI. And it's a privilege to be with you today. This is a great question about agentic AI. I like to think about it. I like to think about AI these days actually in terms of like a framework of 4 different layers. And I like to talk about it this way because it's just like an easy way to stack or to map kind of how to use each tool for each different job and how to understand like what what agentic AI is, what all these things are. So when we think about AI and we think about tool usage, layer 1 is where a lot of people are using AI at. That's a conversation. Like so that is or in other words, one agent. So if you open up ChatGPT, if you open up Claude, you say, "Hey, how do I make this recipe? What's the top 5 places to eat dinner?" Whatever you're entering into ChatGPT. Actually, like help me understand my emotions about this. Whatever you're interested in talking to ChatGPT about. That's like layer 1, where you're having a conversation, somebody's having a conversation back with you, or the robot is. That's in other words, one agent. Layer 2 is where the agent that you're talking to talks to other agents in the background, or the instance that you're talking to is talking to other instances of AI in the background. So what that feels like is very similar to you talking to ChatGPT or Claude, except in the background, what it's doing is saying, "Hey, I don't know exactly what I need to know for this context. I'm going to spin up another agent. The ChatGPT in the background is also talking to ChatGPT, its own version of ChatGPT, and saying, go gather this context, help me understand this. And then Andrew, here's the answer." Level 3 is where you're basically got if you imagine yourself in front of a computer, you can do all your things on the computer, including talk to AI, but also manipulate files and all that kind of thing. That is where things like Claude Code enter the picture. So that's agentic AI that has access to your computer and can like do things on your computer, and that's for workflows that you're directing. And then layer 4, which is basically autonomous agentic AI, and that's things like OpenClaw that you might have heard about, where if layer 3 is like an AI that's sitting in front of a computer, layer 4 is like a whole building of AIs in front of their computer, or a whole company kind of thing. Agentic AI, in other words, is basically AI that can spin up other versions of AI.
Right. In my own, here's my explanation of it. When I try to comprehend it, I believe agentic AI is an AI that you've allowed to act without your absolute prompt to each command, where there is some degree of autonomous conducting happening with you would hope you would hope that with a set of rules that you give it, but then it's working in the background while you are not even paying attention, like it's doing something that you've created some structure for. Would that be the right thing to say?
More or less. I think the word autonomous gets thrown around in context, maybe sometimes more than it truly is autonomous. But if you think of like the fractal pattern of like a decision tree or something like that, that's effectively like what agentic AI is like it can spin up another decision agent to go do things or make decisions based on the context of the top level conversation. So it increases the effectiveness of like what you're asking it to do. Agentic AI being it can take actions on its own in the background.
Right. As of today, I would guess that 95% of people live, let's say, I don't even know what the percentage of the population that actually engage AI in some way, shape, or form. It's got to be pretty high. But let's say out of
It's actually
those,
surprising. I saw an
yeah,
infographic
what is
here
it
recently that's it's something like 80% of the world, global population, has not engaged with AI
at all?
at all. At
Oh
all.
wow, that's
So it's
that's
like
actually really impressive.
20% of the world has engaged with AI, and it's like 1% of the world has engaged with, or not even a percent, with agentic AI or
Yeah,
more
I was
abstract.
gonna say that out of those, probably 95% of those do the chat GPT, help me figure out the colors I need for my mascara and or, look at this contract and make sure that it's got, is there any issues that I have to bring up before I hire a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. But I would say just like a very few percentage of people are actually building agentic agents, if I may, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's a pretty small percentage.
Right now, it seems like very artisanal too. Like you're out
It's a
there,
craft.
you're exactly. It's like you're out there piecemealing together what operating system you may use, what inputting you may use. What's the foundational core of your language model that you're going to be using for certain things? Are you going to, when do you insert ChatGPT? When do you insert Claude? Who is managing the basics, and then who's coming out and in and like it seems like it's a huge pool. And then you're trying to figure out whether you talk to it through WhatsApp, whether you talk to it through Signal, whether it seems like it reminds me of dial-up when we were figuring out how to use the internet for shit that we knew was going to be possible, but we just couldn't do it yet. And so I ask myself from a very practical before we keep layering in is is your advice that people should be trying to invest that much time in figuring out how to put all these pieces that are not yet cohesively working, or should you just say, you know what, I'm going to wait 1 year and I betcha that Apple or Claude or somebody's going to come up with something that's already packaged and perfect for you to just sit down and vibe code without having to fuck around with all these little pieces that you're trying to figure out at this point. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a really interesting observation you're making. I think you're totally right. The like kind of the foundation of my response to that is right
Priya.
now
I got the internet to work.
Yeah.
Priya's in
Yay.
Guatemala. You can see how hardworking she is down there in Guatemala.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of work. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
I'm sorry, Andrew. Please carry on.
You're great. No, it's great. The foundation of my response to that is like you're absolutely right that the decision layer of how you approach anything with AI right now is like kind of the most important because you can, if you really get into it right now, you're only limited by your imagination of what you can really build right now. And so like the fundamental skill that is like really valuable if you can build anything is deciding what's important to build. I think like in terms of like the personal tools, the way that I see the direction of like software specifically, and people talk about like agency as software um, going is really towards really highly customized, highly personalized personal AI systems. Like for instance, I know the guy who's on the Microsoft like special projects team that is currently developing like Microsoft's version of kind of like personal assistant AI, and like that, like tools like that are coming along. Um, those that are aimed at consumers, like that kind of like that 80% section that's not really using AI. I think it's really just like a matter of what you're trying to create in your life, in your environment, around you, and all that. Of whether you pursue it now or you wait. I think really what is going to come down the pipe in terms of like offerings is continually more of like a whole platform, like operating system type softwares that are probably going to be offered by like Anthropic or OpenAI ultimately, that
Lucas,
are basically do everything for your
I'm
life.
curious about your perspective on this as a physician that's obviously adopted AI at its more basic capacities and now have been really putting some thought into your own your I know that you've got your setup and you've been creating your agents and you've been vibe coding and doing some other stuff. Do you think it's a little premature for us to go out there and tell all these listeners, the millions of listeners that log into our show every week, to go and get
The
their
entire
Apple
world.
Mini and start doing it? Or do you think, with your own personal experience, answer if it's maybe too much, too distracting, too time consuming, and maybe just wait till there's a little bit more consumer friendly option out there to vibe code and build your own agentic agents?
No, well, as a general idea, I like the idea of Naval Ravikant, that is to be at the top 25 you don't need to be at the top 5%, but at least be in the top 25 to maybe even 50% at multiple different things. So at least at three things. And then this makes all the sense in the world, because every single surgeon that you've ever met has told you, oh, I have an idea for this thing. I have an idea for this catheter. I have an idea for this patch. I have an idea. So we're constantly, our brains as surgeons are just dialed into finding problems to solutions. And you know, the thing is, we don't know how to do it. It's it's like, you have the idea, you have the application, you have probably the how you would integrate it and troubleshoot, but you have no idea how to make the thing. But now you don't need to have the idea, know how to make the thing. I don't need to learn how to code. It'll be really nice, but the way that you're seeing things, I'm like, in 2 years, like right now, you can vibe some. I don't know if you can vibe code something out of from scratch without learning some degree of Python or like whatever. But in 2 years, you will 100%. So it's the it's a lever, and it's it's a really big lever that can let you leverage a lot of force, which is your creative force. So I think the way that you start is not about which agent you use right now. It's about, okay, what can I do and what can I create, and then how can that I apply that in the world. And then it's also like the network effect of, if I wasn't interested in that, I wouldn't know Andrew, I wouldn't know other people doing other things that are complementary to what I want to do. So the more you do, the more opportunities come, ideas come, your brain just starts fucking being a antenna for ideas, than if you
I think
don't.
that's so true. Like we are creative antennas, whether we're physicians, we're in tech, we're in any industry. I feel like we all receive these really profound solutions to problems that we face in our direct environment or beyond. And I think specifically with physicians, we get bogged down in the fact that we're limited in terms of time as a resource. We're perfectionists. We want to have every single possible detail of building anything that we would take on. And I feel like AI kind of eliminates some of those variables that we see as barriers. So it'll be really cool to see what happens from a creative perspective, coming from all these different people in the world.
Yeah, I was going to ask, Lucas, I know you've been developing kind of your personal operating system. I'm curious to hear kind of what the ideas that you've been developing are, maybe to give some examples of things that are possible, or like in your world.
For me, so right now I'm doing locums, right? So one thing that I want to have insight to is, I want to have insight into what I'm producing, what cases I'm doing, have a log. There's a lot of things for credentialing and stuff like that. So I'm vibe coding my own. So I said, okay, well, Excel spreadsheet kind of sounds annoying. I want to just tell, like, do voice to text into the abyss, and I want the abyss to grab it and put it into a database. But then I started thinking, okay, well, um, you can do a lot with that information. Just want to talk to it, and to like whatever, and not even type, and just say this and this, and I want to take a picture of um, the whatever, like the sticker, and grab some key information. But then you can do a lot. Then I started playing with it. I was like, "Okay, what else could I do? And what else could I do?" Um, and you could do a lot of things. So one of the things that I'm like, okay, so what are the bills? So if I tell them I'm gonna do a SFA authoritative instant, okay, so what if it could just tell me the codes? And then what if it could tell me what the modifiers could be, or like did I take into account the modifiers? And then what if it could then create a expected um, expected kind of CPT codes build and what I get, and then okay, if I didn't get what I expect, what if it could generate a response, and then what if it could tell me insights into what things are work well in my system, what don't, what it doesn't. So you just start doing small things. So I just started doing the log, and I created like I went to learn what Supa base was. And I was like, what the fuck is Supa base? And I'm like, all these things. And now I know, and I can start having other ideas on how to implement it. So, and it's so easy. It just takes like an hour a day. It was very frustrating. It's extremely frustrating, especially at the beginning, but it's fun. It's like tinkering with Legos kind of a deal.
And you think about like how much of your day is like tied up in those in the realm of like executive function. Like just organizing, putting things in the right place, connecting dots, but not really like the stuff that is like your creative zone of genius, or like what your passion, your skill set is. I think that's really the opportunity with AI right now. If you're tinkering and you're building and you're experimenting right now, it's to build the systems that enable you to really live in your lane of like highest and best life experience. Like when you think about things that are possible, if you want to start building with, you know, Claude Code, or your own harness of some kind, OpenClaw, whatever, like things like um, unifying your communications that you get. So like something that it is able to read all your emails, read all your texts, like listen to your like the transcripts of your meetings, and just kind of know like, okay, that means that this task gets to be added to your Kanban board. Maybe that's for work, maybe that's just for you personally, and just like kind of keep you organized. It can hear you talk about if you're having a transcript, and then of a meeting, and just go ahead and schedule the next one, or schedule whatever you guys talk about doing. Getting rid of like those kind of lower level executive function tasks are huge. And then not like, I think once you start tinkering, Lucas, you have a great point of like, once you start playing with it, your antenna goes up to like what's possible. And then you start realizing, oh, this idea that I had around the way that I actually want to construct my day or my life or my work, it could be possible. I could go build it.
Yeah, I would suggest that people start playing with it, and what you're like, and build something, but build it not to with any purpose, just the purpose of learning and knowing that that could take you to someplace else that could be really invaluable, like crazy. I also like,
That was my question
yeah.
for you
Go
guys. It's
ahead,
like
Priya.
if you're somebody who's never tinkered in this space and you want to start, where do you even start?
You
Yeah.
download Claude Code. That's where you start. Like if you're already using Claude, or if you're already using ChatGPT, download Codex. I don't actually use Codex very often, but that's the OpenAI equivalent. Download Claude Code, and it might sound intimidating to like start doing something in code, but do exactly what you're doing in Claude, just inside of Claude Code. And then it's going to prompt you to be like, oh, do you want to do this, this, and this? And you're going to realize, oh, I didn't even know that's possible.
Just go to YouTube and say Claude Code tutorial setup, and just do it. Just put $20 into a subscription, and then just do it. The other thing I've been experimenting with the idea recently is in your own personal wiki, and kind of putting the agent wrapper. So then wrappers like Claw, like OpenClaw or Hermes, which is this. Can you explain what a wrapper is in a better way than I can, Andrew?
Or like, A wrapper is basically some software that calls the
Mhm.
model underneath it,
Exactly.
but in a
So
specific way for a specific
yeah,
purpose.
exactly. And then you can actually, and the concept of like having a second brain that has all the connections, all the random connections between all your random thoughts, and all the thoughts that come through your email, all the thoughts that come through your Slack, all the thoughts that come through like all the Google Meets you do. And the agent just like stores it in a way that it can give you insight of how you're thinking, the things you're thinking, your the things you're missing. I'm just like, I'm starting to build it, but I can see like, well, this could be really, really impactful. I could see patients having that by just having an app that just records their doctor's visit, and then everything goes to an Obsidian vault that connects absolutely everything, and you can ask it any question. But that's been super interesting lately.
Yeah, think about an AI that has access to like all of your knowledge. All of a sudden, the rather than you having to consider all of this like the one by one decisions that you make in your life, you can make 10 times as many decisions and so you can outsource things. You can outsource your decision making.
So, what happens to people when you become so reliant on this form of decision making? Like, what happens to generations that didn't have to use autonomous thinking? Like, will that change society in a way that is irreversible in a positive way? Is that going to be damaging? Like, what do you guys think? We're outsourcing so much of our thought and decision making, cognitive processing, intuition, even. So, I don't know. I'm curious.
I think it's a really interesting question. I think there's two ways that I'd respond to that. One is that AI, like regular compute, amplifies the input. So like there's like that old adage, crap in, crap out. So like what you build with a personal AI system is basically going to be your mental models just at scale. And the second thing is that as you like rely on or as people rely on AI tends to like normalize to the mean with whatever it's doing. So I do think there's a ton of risk for um, lower agency people who outsource, like actually outsource. I think the way that I used outsource earlier in this conversation just really meant like I really meant scale, like scale your decision making. But if you're truly outsourcing your decision, you're asking AI what to do. I think for like there's a subset of people where it actually is like improving their lives, and then there's a subset of people where it's like you actually could live a much more interesting life if you made decisions for yourself.
I mean, there's pretty solid data to show that we're stupider than we've ever been. So if you look at generation over generation over generation, there was an increase in the IQ, there was an increase in the capacity to take knowledge in, to learn, and it was most people that know about this believe that that is related to improvement in educational systems, improvement to access to information, until the algorithms have taken over kids' lives. And now everything in school is part of these algorithms and digital and social media and virtual social constructs. And apparently, for the first time in the history of mankind, we're seeing, and I want to say, I'm gladly old enough that I didn't get caught by that, but I think it's at the millennial level that there was actually systematically a decrease in the IQ. So proven, like the people are just less, are less stimulated cognitively, and so there is this fear that I share with you is that if all of a sudden we have the all intelligent being that is now answering emails for you and giving you the answer to everything, then you essentially become, to your point, Lucas, ultimately the wrapper for the AI. So now we're just going to be connected to the grid, and we're all going to be just cocoons generating, output to that's essentially fueled by an agent in the back that's just telling you what to do. So that's a huge fear of where this could go.
It's really interesting to see the evolution of like AI ethics, AI law. There's going to be a lot more that comes with this.
But if you think about it, I think we have to. I think that intelligence is gonna have less value in our lives than agency. I think agency is what we really like. Like, you know, I'm gonna have a kid soon. I was like, what do they get to learn in a world of super intelligence, like greater than Einstein intelligence? Who like does it matter if the kid's IQ is 5 points or 4 points below, or is it like does my kid have the most agency to go out and create in the world because all the intelligence is like it's there. It's like he just has to have the idea and the drive and the creativity. So I yes, we might be becoming dumber, but if you have something that's like a million times smarter, then if you're a little bit more dumb, does that really matter? Obviously, it's not a good thing. I'm not saying okay we should be dumber, but I don't know how the importance of intelligence. I don't know the importance of like how important are that people like do well in their MCATs when your fucking like Ray-Ban glasses will know a bajillion times more than you will ever do. So like what you need is agency, communication skills, integrity, and creativity. That's it.
We may get you a free pair of Ray-Bans. You've said Ray-Bans AI glasses 30 times today
Well,
alone.
those
So
those are the only ones I know that are in the market. I'm sure there's
we're
some other
gonna
ones.
we're gonna
Yeah.
get some
I'm looking for sponsorships. Yeah, I'm looking
sponsorships
for
Yeah.
sponsorships. Yeah.
for Lucas and CJ sales team.
Yeah, exactly.
It does beg an interesting question, like what's the role of the human in like a call it like a post-intelligence society? Because the other thing, like Lucas, you mentioned things like creativity, you mentioned things like integrity, like the things that like a robot can't have are things like a reputation too, like or accountability for decision making. Like those are that's still the realm of the human because we're still going to want to somebody to own results,
Yeah.
taste.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taste. Exactly. A
Mm.
tastemaker. Yeah.
Hmm.
Chefs. I want to centralize this conversation because there may be people listening in that are like, you know what? I would love to do what Lucas is doing. I would love to vibe code. I would love to play with this. And I was one of those, and I'm still one of those because I told Lucas and Andrew what I needed to do to step into the ring, and you guys gave me a couple of pointers as to essentially what to do. But I haven't gotten to that point because I just haven't carved the time out to do it. So I have a Mac Mini at home waiting, a keyboard and a trackpad. And what's next? And maybe backing up to that is if there is anybody super interested in trying to dabble and play and experiment and look at where their ingenuity and intelligence and capacities can take them, what would be the building blocks here if we can invest a little bit of time on telling people how to guide them into what infrastructure from a hardware and then software standpoint they would need, and then potentially training avenues for getting more information on this?
I think it's a great question. So I'll speak to like your situation, Miguel. So you've got the Mac Mini. You're intending to build kind of your own systems. The things that I'd start out with are things like I think probably everyone's probably concerned with costs. They're concerned with security, and they're concerned with like some level of like basic communication, either with themselves or with like organizing their lives. Um, so in terms of things that I'd start with, best practices, I'd say look into model routing. So using the right model for the job, because if if you're as you're setting up your Mac Mini, if you're calling Opus every time, you're going to have a big bill to Anthropic, and you don't need to. In terms of security, you want to be thinking about like how much access you're giving to your dedicated machine, your dedicated, like, basically local server for AI to your life, and you want to be considering what the boundaries of its access are versus what it has access, um, does not have access to. You know, things I think about here are like banking transactions or like payment info or that kind of thing. You don't necessarily want agentic AI spending money for you unless you really, really know what it's doing. And then also along those same lines is like security with controlling the surfaces that you can interact with the agentic system, basically. So a lot of people set up Slack or Telegram or WhatsApp kind of thing. Just making sure that, like, to start with, you're probably just going to have you talking to your machine, and that's like one surface of entry. You want to control, like, this is kind of where you get into like the man machine layer of, it's not just software, but like who has access, who has logins to those surfaces. Those are the kind of like the ideas that I would start with.
What is it about the Mac Mini that makes it the ideal hardware platform to run these agentic agents in? Is there anything about it, or no? It's just because it's cool.
It's a good question. It's like already commercially available, successful. Like, Apple spends something like, here's my opinion on it, because you can get any mini PC or any PC that like can run with enough
It's not
RAM and processing
I
power.
always thought that it was like the Mac Mini has some sort of processor that is the only
Nope.
one that could run these things. No,
No.
man,
this guy called yeah. It's this
man,
guy
you
called
made me
Alex
buy an
Finn.
expensive computer for no reason, Lucas.
You got the most expensive one. I told you
You
need to
said get the most
one.
expensive
No, the
one
thing
with
is,
the
like,
most RAM and everything.
Yeah, I did, because I thought you would be like, we could be running local models, but I was wrong about that. But there's this guy which is like, I like his content, called Alex Finn, and then he jumped into OpenCloud really easily, and the Mac Mini is cheap, so he's like, well, I'm just gonna have my own computer for this thing, because I don't want to give it access to everything. So he got a cheap Apple computer because it's the same ecosystem. So if you guys want to learn about this stuff, Alex Finn, he's super entertaining, and it's doing cool stuff. But Andrew, maybe I think that people can even start like in a really like crawling before doing that. Like, you can just
So
get
buying
like
the Mac Mini is not
Perplexity.
crawling? No. You think that's like another next stage? Like buying it?
Yeah, next
okay.
stage. You, in your own computer, you can start playing with like things like Perplexity Computer, which is basically, Perplexity is, they're not like, they're a frontier lab where they have their own LLM, but they do the routing of the LLMs for you, and you pay from $20 to $200, and you can talk to it on your phone, and you can tell it what to do. It's kind of like a built-in agent, but you pay a subscription for it, and then you can start like feeling out what it can do and some basic stuff. With Claude, you can start playing with creating dashboards. Like, I've created a financial dashboard for Courtney's business, where I can bring in data from like all the inputs where like she's generating revenue, and then all the outputs, and then create a visual representation of like a P&L and stuff like that. Or you can also have artifacts do like a email triage agent, where you can triage your emails, and it's right there on your computer. And then you can start playing with like Claude Code, or now like with ChatGPT Codex and stuff like that. And then if you like it, then you can go into like more fun things like OpenClaw and Hermes, which can be really annoying but really satisfying when you get it to work. And then Andrew created like this little weekend course, which was super fun. And we all got a computer, and we got a really nice Airbnb in the hill country, and we just said, okay, my goal is to create my own personal assistant agent, and we worked in 90-minute blocks, and we kind of said, okay, I need to do this and this and this, and Andrew would come and would like help us if we're stuck someplace. And each one of us, there were three of us, we were doing different projects, so we would learn from each other. That was very fun too. So there's a lot of ways you can learn.
Yeah, tons of different stuff. I think dashboarding, like you mentioned, is really one of like the most accessible and like quick win type of activities that a lot of people are doing. You mentioned like financial dashboarding. Also, like I have personally, I know a bunch of people have like, created their own version of a CRM or like those are like quick wins where you can get a lot of value pretty quickly, connecting either your data sources that you already have or like whatever platforms you're already in. And yeah, so yeah, I run this weekend, Builders Weekend. Next one is June 5th through 7th here in Austin. But yeah, we get a bunch of builders in the room who are at varying stages of the progress of building with AI. Like, Lucas, we had, real estate investor, the agency owner there, and kind of just like come with a use case and then spend the weekend, kind of in deep work. Like Miguel, like you mentioned, I think one of the biggest obstacles to experimenting right now is just being like, okay, I don't know exactly what my use case is. So like, how do I justify spending, 10 hours just playing right now when I've got all the other things, everything else in my life that I have to juggle. So carving out some space for that is kind of what I'm aimed at with that event.
Now I'm looking at your webpage, and I've been looking at it for a little bit, trying to figure out what it is that you do. Um, but it seems like, I guess the thing that's funny I'm reading is you AIfy things, like you're an
That's good
AIfier.
feedback for me that it's not clear enough.
I've had to go back and
Yeah.
forth a few times, to be very honest. I'm not trying to be mean.
No, I love it.
I pulled it
And full
up.
disclosure, it's like, yeah,
Did
yeah,
you
it's
have an
in it's in
agent
like
do this for
halfway
you?
development. Yes, yes, I had it scaffolded. I'm right in the middle of redoing it.
Oh,
So
I
now you're
love it.
looking at it.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
yeah.
Because it says Andrew Sponsler, ATX process engineer, 43 out of 995. That I don't know what it is. That 43
Oh,
out of.
that's definitely that's how many countries I've been to.
Oh, no way. That's cool. Really?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, see, well, I mean, okay, then it's part of like you gotta kind of okay. But anyway, it
yeah,
says essentially that your business is that you're out there, and if somebody has processes that potentially they think that they can help, your idea is to map out what the company is doing and then figure out in coordination with them how to quote AIfy the processes. Is this correct? And walk me through a little bit of how that process is.
yeah. My background is in continuous improvement and process mapping. So what I'm doing is coming into small, mid-sized businesses and looking at who understand kind of the potential and the possibility around AI and building like AI native workflows inside of businesses. So, for example, and actually similar to um, what Lucas just mentioned. Just yesterday, I sent like recent proposals that I've sent out are like around creating automated reconciliation between um, like POs that a company has received versus their accounts payable and accounts receivable and like what's in inventory and like automating reconciliation, financial reconciliation processes, that kind of thing, or marketing ops. Like another client, we looked at her database of clients where she's got all these like all of these inbound leads that haven't been actioned on and segmenting them and like basically doing um, self-learning market segmentation and personalized outreach, that kind of thing.
I love that. And so the way that this works is I walk me a little bit through the process, because it's kind of the 60 to 90 days, and how does that work, and what's the output?
Yeah, I like to do a phase approach where usually it's like there's some initial build of putting together like a platform of kind of whatever the use case or the problem that the business owner is trying to solve. and then depending on what they're looking for, like managing that on an ongoing basis.
If I had to reach out to you right now and I have a mid-sized business, I would think that I would have a need for you to help me. But I don't know that I'm ready to jump into a big financial endeavor, because if you ask me, what do you need to AFI today? I would look at you and be like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I can come up with maybe 3 or 4 things. Um, and I don't know if you do this as just you carve some time to talk to clients, but maybe there should be a price point also where there's like, hey, you know what? I want your ear for like 5 hours in different days. And let's just go through what I have. And you tell me what you think could be the best place where I could say, okay, let me deploy capital so that we can push this project. Are you doing that sort of exploratory brainstorming? Because it's almost like brainstorming. You have to almost like come on site. I'll show you what I have. I'll show you how I work. And then you can say, you know what? Here's what are your pain points? What are your opportunities? Where do you want to go? What can I? And then you can say, this makes sense. This is something we can AFI.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I offer like a diagnostic session with people as well to do exactly what you just mentioned. Basically, come in, spend some time. Let's look at your tech stack. Let's look at your processes. Let's find out what's ripe for streamlining and automating, and then what would need some work.
You can think of what things can you think that most you know interventionalists with outpatient be it surgery centers or OBLs would
What's an
could
OBL?
Office-based
office-based
cath lab.
lab. Yeah.
Okay.
Say that you're doing procedures. So do you have any hunches, Miguel, into what things are ripe for automation or ripe for integration with AI?
Yeah, that's why, like, I don't know where I would deploy my capital first. I'd have to have a creative session to talk to somebody to where we should. But um, phone the phone is a huge big issue. It's when you're getting 150 calls a day for a bunch of different reasons, understanding how to manage that phone tree is incredibly complex. We have like agents in Colombia that pick up the phone. We have front desk people here. We have an answering service that clicks in when the other 3 or 4 agents are busy. Like that I think it's a pain point. The other one is RCM, specifically for clinical practices, because your client is a referring provider, so it's not just like going directly to some sort of end user, which would be the patient, but you're actually going to the owner of the patient, which would be providers, primary care physicians in the community. And so how to manage their interactions for our physician liaisons, quote, business development people to work with them. Intraoperatively, I would love to come out of the OR and have an op note done. Like that is the vein of my existence. The only problem with that is we would have to probably create something multimodal, because you don't you don't operate talking, right? You operate doing. And so it's not like I'm like, and now I'm putting a stent in the artery from here to here, right? And I mean, you could do that, but that
I
would be
mean,
the
some
most
of us do
insane.
that.
Okay.
You just called
So
me
Priya
insane.
walks herself. Priya's like,
I
and now I'm shitting my pants as I open the balloon in the left main coronary artery.
well, people like to know the steps. It helps the people in the room, but it also helps me, I guess. But anyway, I'm insane apparently.
No, but you know what? This is a cardiology thing, because when I work in the cath lab,
Yeah.
somebody's out there in the computer, because you guys like are super good at like calling out like what atmospheres and where you put it in this, because somebody is typing in the back. And so when we're doing peripherals, it's like, 70 centimeters of lesion, so nobody really cares. So they're like, how many atmospheres? I'm like, and I make shit up. Like I'll say 1.
I know.
And then you see them typing like mad people. And then I come back and I was like, who reads this report? And she's like, I don't know, but I have to do it for every coronary. So I just do it for peripherals. But anyway, it would have to be multimodal. Like the screen would have to be analyzed, like what's happening in the screen. Also, I think a camera that could identify what I'm doing. Like when I'm deploying a stent, you could tell if I'm deploying a stent or if I'm inflating a balloon. I think that could be something that a camera could recognize. And then just seeing the like the stickers of the material would be the immediate way to know if you're putting a 5mm by 150mm stent, and then come out and that this op node is not only perfect but also coded to the best of the abilities so that I can maximize billing. I think that would be an awesome project. And then last but not least, we've talked about this at Nasha today, but is revenue cycle management, which is following a claim, making sure it's timely, making sure if they pay you, they paid you the right amount based on your contract, that if there's a denial that you check on that, that you're able to chase that cost out. It's a ton of work to try to get the money in the door. If any other business in the world would work like this, they would not. I mean, you're in a restaurant where you would go and have the most perfect food in the world, and at the end, you're like, you know what? I'm going to pay you in 90 days for this beautiful food that you just gave me, right? Like nobody does that. You don't go and give a service for hoping that you're going to get paid. It's a healthcare thing, but that's a pain point. So those are my 4 or 5 pain points that I would love at some point to AFI with Andrew.
It sounds like from all the conversations we've had that revenue cycle management would probably be the highest ROI
Yes.
one.
Yes. Chasing the money. That's it. It's chasing the money down because the insurance companies make it a game that they want you to lose. They don't want to pay, and they're going to try everything they can to not pay you. And it's a bunch of technicalities, and they find inconsistencies, and
The cool thing about agents, Miguel, is that you can give them personality, so you can make that the biggest asshole agent to like interact with
Really?
insurance companies. To
Really?
yeah, you can give them.
You could be a douche.
You
Like
type
you're
their
like, I need you
soul.
to be the douchiest agent of
Yeah,
my.
it's a soul. It's a soul MD file. So you give it its soul. So you give it the most fucked up soul you can, so that it goes after your money.
Just as a hound dog for you.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
That. I love that.
Or bulldog, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Andrew,
All right,
I'll have
guys,
to
well-
talk to you one of these days, man. I'll give you a ring. Let's see what
Sounds
we should
good, brother.
AFI. Priya, it looks like you're having a great time. When are you going to come back?
Oh man, I've come back in a week.
Awesome. Well, enjoy.
What part of Guatemala are
I'm
you in,
on
Priya?
Lake Atitlan. Can you guys see it? The volcano.
Oh, beautiful.
One of the most amazing
So
places
beautiful.
So
ever.
cool.
Yeah.
And the volcanoes are active.
Really?
That's
Don't get too
amazing.
close, I guess.
Andrew, thank you for your
All right,
time,
guys.
man. You're awesome. You're amazing. You're inspiring. And I hope a lot of people took great tips and tricks today. And
Where can people find you, Andrew?
yeah.
Great to chat with you. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. It's my name, Andrew Sponsler, or my website, andrewsponsler.com.
All right, guys. This was awesome.
Hi,
See you in
guys.
the
Great
next
to
one.
chat, y'all.